So I did my best impression at a bit of, I don't know what you would call that. I wouldn't say I was artful enough to call it actual dancing, but ant avoidance techniques would probably be the best. Quickly, we've got some action on the other camera.
Oh guys, we've just interrupted a very serious Franklin confrontation. I'm going to be quiet because the sound effects are the best part of this. Oh, missed him. That was a pretty fancy duck. Oh, into the branch. These guys are definitely not joking. They're not even slightly perturbed by our presence. Crest and Franklin having a very serious argument. And it seems to me like the one on the left is... Oh, they're all shouting now. Come on guys, come back towards the open area. That was amazing to see. And actually, fights between male Franklin can get fairly savage. They've got a spur that you might be lucky enough to see on the back of their ankles. And they use that to tackle each other. That's why you were seeing them every time they met each other. It was with feet first, trying to keep those dangerous spurs away from the other Franklin, or away from themselves. That was amazing to see. Some serious argument happening there, but still stopping to pick at the ground whilst they were doing it. And I'm not sure if that's part of the display or if they get hungry halfway through. Try to roll forward to see. I think that might be over. I think that was it. And peace now reigns in the Franklin world. Oh, here we go. Roll forward. See if we can get them doing that again. Two down.
So, interesting afternoon. My goodness, some of the things that we've seen. How good was that boomslang? That was incredible. That is the best encounter I've ever seen. And Jamie's picked up some really beautiful small things. The drive today has been, or the drive walk, everything has just been so small and delicate and very, very intimate. And I really like that. It's a good change. I just wanted to come to the tent and show you a few things. We just happen to have a snake skin here as well. This is a slough snake skin, just carrying on from Brent's incredible encounter. And this snake skin is from a Mozambican spitting cobra that lives in the roof of our camp actually. And we found this one morning, so this would be inside out. It's peeled backwards off the snake's body, and it will actually have an eyelid, a fused eyelid scale as well, that if you sometimes find a snake skin, you'll see that eyelid is still intact, that eyelid scale is still intact. But pretty incredible things, great things to show kids as well. But you know what, I think one of the things that Brent always says about walks, and all the guys that do walks, and all of us really, small things matter too. You know, elephants and the lions and leopards are beautiful, fantastic things, but if it wasn't for some of the small things, that whole habitat wouldn't exist. Come and have a look at this little guy. Now, he might not be as impressive as a boomslang or a leopard or a Franklin for that matter, but this, you may have seen one of these before. It looks a little bit dark right there now. Now I'm going to put some light on him, and he may move away from this light because he is a woodlouse. Now a woodlouse is an invertebrate related to, believe it or not, related to crabs and lobsters. Okay, so millions of years ago they came out of the ocean and had a bit of a crack on going on land, and they've survived. But underneath, I will just turn him over in a second. It's not going to hurt him at all, I promise you. I would never do anything like that. You can just start to see him move now because of this light. They live in a very, very dark environment under logs. I'm going to have to wrangle him a little bit here. So I do have a certificate for woodlouse wrangling, so I am legally allowed to do this. And this little woodlouse, a very incredible creature. They have 7 pairs of legs, 14 legs, and underneath they've got these really, really primitive gill-like structures that allow them to breathe, hence why they have to live in a very, very moist environment. Just come back to this microscope and have a little look now. See if we can just gently, he's a bit I don't know if I'll be able to do it because he does move quite quickly, and now that he knows I'm wanting to turn him over, I've just got a little paintbrush, so it's not a big deal, but you can just see those little legs there, and then there's also these gill-like structures. You see those dark gill-like structures there? So I'll tip him back over, but there's the 7 pairs of legs. I'll tip him back over now and let him be. There you go, mate. And that's an incredible little creature that lives off decomposing wood, fungi, and all other. He's called a detritivore, which is another great word. Herbivore, carnivore, detritivore. So he eats detritus, decaying plant matter. Just one more little creature that I've got here to show you, and another detritivore. But you've probably seen these before. But these are really small, juvenile ones, and these are miniature or baby versions of giant African millipedes. Now they're a little bit, you can see those legs there moving around, 2 pairs of legs to every body segment, and you can see the beautiful antennae out the front there, lovely dark exoskeleton, beautiful antennae feeling out there. Again, all these creatures that are living in a very, very dark environment don't have very, very good vision or any vision. They have light receptors, and then they will use those antennae to find their way around. There's a couple of different size ones in there. I'll just take this one off because I have got Big Daddy, and this is Big Daddy. This is a small one actually, but he's curled up in his defensive position at the moment, so I'm just going to have to get him under there and then just have to adjust this up a little bit, and you'll see that beautiful detail of those legs. Isn't that fantastic? Really, really beautiful. Beautiful detail that the legs all the way around there and then curled in. You just see a little tiny bit of movement just in there where I touch with my paintbrush. So that little paintbrush is a great tool. Would never hurt the creature, of course. As important, as I said before, really as important as all the other animals and creatures that we have, because every single creature on this planet makes up the planet. Okay, we're going to cross back over to the bushwalk. Sorry, I was going to say to Jamie, but to the bushwalk with Brent. I'm sure Brent has got something else for us.
You're right. So, camouflage is one of the most important things out in the bush. I'm wondering if anyone can spot the living creature in Jandre's frame at the moment. So, as we go closer, we'll spot a little grasshopper that has the same coloration as this sand at the bottom of the riverbed. Isn't that amazing? So you can see it almost, the little color spots on it, break it up so it looks like little bits of quartz that we find in these riverbeds. And you can just see a little bit of movement. The leg moved slightly there. And obviously not bad to eat and not venomous, or not, sorry, poisonous. Because of that coloration. So obviously if he's spotted, it'd make a good dinner for hornbill, starling, mongoose. So I'm just going to move there, and you can see because he has that coloration like that, I'm just going to jump for you, and you can see how far he can jump. Oh, there we go. You see, he doesn't rely on huge hops like certain species. If you have a look at Jandre, there he is. So he doesn't rely on big hops. He relies on small hops and keeping dead still again for his camouflage. And so, you've lost him? He's there. And look, it's just perfect how, with that small gravel around, how he looks almost exactly the same as it. So animals have lots of different ways of defending themselves. Some with a tooth and claw, others with a bit of subtle camouflage. And that's the wonderful thing about everything out here. You see something new every single day. But you're going to stay with us now. We're going to keep working this drainage system, really hoping we'll find some leopard tracks. But, until then, as I said that, I thought I spotted a leopard track. Unfortunately, it wasn't. There's a big hyena track that pops through here. You can see it's slid down. It's quite old. Just with the rain, slid down, so it was just after the rain. Got lots, you can just see the little claw marks from the hyena, but quite an old track. We're going to keep moving. Hopefully we'll find a fresh track. We also are slowly moving towards the Buffelshoek waterhole, and you never know what's around a waterhole after a nice warm day like this. So we're going to zigzag through this drainage system, just looking for tracks. Just heard something. Sounded like a buffalo footstamp. I'm just gonna sneak this little path. There are buffalo in the area. I'd prefer to know exactly where they are. Okay. I'm gonna peer over the ledge. Can't see anything yet, but it sounded like it was down towards where the mud wallows are. So there is a nice open spot. If we carry on, if we look back down, we might be able to see if they're there. It could still be quite far away and still moving down towards this area. In a lot of situations on foot, your ears become your most important asset. They give you a direction for your eyes to look in. It might be a little bit further away, but we're going to keep walking and keep checking this drainage system. Always good to check these hollow tree holes. Not much in here. You can see this wood is really hard and solid. You can even hear it. The heartwood's been burnt, and some borer beetles have got into it, but very few. And they haven't managed to eat through most of it. You can hear it's not very hollow yet. And that's because this is a leadwood. One of the harder wood species we get out here. And dead leadwoods, like this one here, can often stay standing after they've died for 100 years. So one of the best places to see this is in an area that's been flooded and they've died from drowning, basically. And you get these sort of forests of dead trees, and it's absolutely spectacular. This one, I think, too old for me to figure out what got it. But anyway, let's keep going. Jean just wants to have a look up it quickly. You can see, oh, hello. Let's come have a look here quickly. There is a tiny little nest in here. I can't even see what made it. It looks like a little bird, a very small bird. So sunbird or whatnot. I'm going to try see if I can see through another hole. I'm a bit short. to get through the top there. Let's see if I can collect a log to stand on quickly. Of course, being a dead leadwood, you choose the closest log, which happens to be a leadwood, which is incredibly heavy. Oh, that's very heavy. There we go. Just that little bit of extra height. Try to see if there are any eggs. I actually even think this might not be birds. I think it could be squirrels that have been filling this in. And I'm telling that, unfortunately, I'm not going to put my finger in there. It's a great place for scorpions and snakes. But I can see squirrel dung from up here. But fascinating. Everywhere, everything, dead or alive, has a use out here in the African bush. And we added another, definitely one of my top 10 experiences since I've been here, was that boomslang. Still waiting for the day walking along here that I can sort of just pop my head over and spot a leopard beneath me. And we're getting to that time of the day that my dad likes to call the magic hour. And the sun is sinking a little bit lower, you know, this beautiful light. And wherever I am in the world, I could be in the most amazing place. When I sort of get this late afternoon soft light, I always have that little bit of pang. A little pang wishing I was still in the bush somewhere. Fortunately, most of the time I am. Look at that. So if we look, it looks completely dead. Absolutely, completely expired. This is a zebra wood. And there's still life coming out of the same root system. A little zebra wood, or Dalbergia, quite favored by the elephants, even though they've got these incredibly sharp spines. And it'd be amazing if we could actually figure out how the main stem died. But I do love the shapes and different textures that this dead wood provides. Now, when I ran that little tented walking safari camp in southern Tanzania, we didn't have any gas, we didn't have any electricity. We had some solar panels for light. All our cooking was done on a fire, and we actually even built a concrete stove with holes to put fire in. And that zebra wood, which is called mpingo in Swahili, was the chef's favorite. If the guys who on firewood collection brought back other wood, he would complain bitterly to me often. He said that was the best wood. It burnt the most evenly for his cooking. So we're going to duck back down into the drainage system. Some incredible trees in this area. The bush is actually sort of gone almost still at the moment. There's the odd bird. There's a babbler nearby. The wind's died down. You can hear one or two insects. And all we're hoping for is pandemonium to break out. Barking inyala or kudu, snorting impala, to put us in the right direction of a leopard. Or a lion. We've got a very funny leaf here. I'm going to try hold it into the light. You might see there's an incredible amount of tiny little hairs. And that's what gives this leaf its rough feel. It's called a sandpaper raisin. And it's incredible. I'm going to just use it on my stick quickly. Just find a nice little spot where we can see. These leaves are a bit fresh, but you can actually get a nice little polish on with the leaf.
Around, you get an interesting vision of it, but you can see from here there's a very, very erect white stripe on the animal towards the top of the screen, and that's a dorsal sort of crest or fringe of hair that gets erect to make the animal look bigger and just to look more impressive to its opponent. And you can see the one that's still holding that dorsal crest up seems to be the one. It's the one right in the middle of the screen there, and he seems to be the most dominant at the moment. The other one's walked off. There's two off to the right as well. The screen, about towards 3 o'clock on our screen. Very interesting behaviour. Now, it's when they are looking to start to take over or set up a territory, and they'll do a sort of a broadside orientation of each other. The actual practice of that hair standing up like that is called philo-erection, and they'll do it just to make themselves look more impressive. It's really cool to see from the air, isn't it? Incredible. So the bull that's in the middle at the moment seems to be the successful one out of our two that have had a small battle. But here comes another one running into shot. Andrew's following that one, gone off on a bit of a run around. Fantastic to see from the air. It's just stuff that we don't get to see, this sort of perspective. And just one last thing about the Nyala, they are pretty much the most sexually dimorphic, which is the most sexually dimorphic antelope in Africa, which means they are very, very different looking in size and shape from their female of the same species. Now I can see Andrew starting to go up into the sky, and he'll be going somewhere else, but fantastic to see that aerial view of Nyala. Nyala are one of my favourite antelopes as well, very, very pretty antelope, and we see lots of them around the reserve here. We're going to cross back over to Jamie and see what she's up to.
Luckily, Liam and myself did manage to find our way back from Arathusa. Now all that's left is to find our way to the Ximhungwe pride.
No, because it is the photo direction is actually really impressive from the side.
A little bit ahead of us off to the right, and apparently the lions disappeared off into this block here between Gallagher and Aubrey's. Let's see if they are still around. This is a perfect time of day to go searching for them. I might have to, at some point, possibly rely on Liam for directions, but I think I know where to go from here. Let's double check. There's the hyena den road. Let's see if we can figure out where the vehicles have been going off-road. Okie dokie. Let's try and find a nice path in. It's very dense. Oh, there's a Nyala going in as well. Where did these... Hello Nyala, be careful. There's some very hungry lions in there. Okay, let's see. Hyena den's just off to our right. I think this is probably going to be our easiest way in. I just want to try and find the off-road tracks. They go straight in there, Liam. Okay. It's going to be easier for us to find them if we can follow the vehicle tracks going into this block from this morning. Or at least have a good place to start. Well, everybody, hold on to your hats. And watch your heads. Here we go. interesting to see what they've been up to during their day. Everybody duck. There we go. Well done, Liam. Oh, there's some kudu in there as well. Try and sneak around them. Definitely a serious potential here for a hunting opportunity for the Ximhungwes. And it's so interesting about them is they are such young sub-adults that they will have been abandoned pretty much at the point where learning to hunt was still very much a part of their lives. They hadn't fully mastered the entire art of it. They're an amazing survival story. Let's see if we can sneak through here. Oh, well done, Graham. Quite a seriously thick block, but I think we've found our way into a more open patch. Hello, little kudu. Don't mind us. Alrighty, while we bundu bash through to get to the Ximhungwes, there's a beautiful, peaceful sunset scene from the air, so let's have a look at that.
Isn't that incredible? We've got our eyes in the sky, looking through to that magnificent mountain range, the Drakensberg, and the setting African sun. And one of the longest mountain ranges in Africa. From up on the ground to down on the from up in the air, to down on the earth. We've come back through as the sun's setting. We've got to start moving slowly back towards our vehicle. We don't want to be caught at night on foot. But we've got this awesome mud wallow here, and oh, that was close. I think I'm going to hop this way. And we've got some dung that's here on the edge of this mud wallow. Oh, there we go. Break it up. You can see it's a grass eater. Now, I'm going to ask you guys to let me know what type of grass this is. I'm sorry, what type of grass eater this is. And think about it. It's probably not what you would expect at a tiny little waterhole like this. Remember to send your answers through to questions@WildEarthTV or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Who dung it? Very, very dark. So from the starches in the grass, and the clue is, the water. So we're going to keep with us. I'm going to come back to the other side of the water and see what else we can find as we move along through the African bush at sunset, my favorite time of the day. See what else we can find. The plethora of insects that are out and about at the moment, and some of my favorite little plants are starting to flower. And I'm just going to keep, there's a very, very cool one. And because Jean-Andre decided I should stand in the pugnacious ants for losing sight of the snake, I've decided Jean-Andre should eat some of this. Now, this is wild aniseed. I'm not hand feeding you, Jean-Andre. Put your hand off. Okay, he wants to be focus. Yes, he wants to be hand fed. Lean back. There we go. Now I'm feeding my cameraman. He is eating it. The reason the funny faces he's pulling, and the funny faces I'm pulling, although it tastes delicious if you like licorice, neither of us particularly like licorice. So you can actually cook with this. I know a chef who I used to work with in the bush, he used it extensively on lamb and would actually dry out these little aniseeds and really heavily coat it with black pepper and salt over the edge of a pork roast. And I must say, I do prefer that form than the raw form. But I mean, the smell is so distinct. It's so strong. Really, really incredible. Wild aniseed. And I know some of our directors are very fond of all the smelly things we find in the bush. So I'm going to take some back for her. And we're going to keep checking very slowly and very carefully through this area, because as we've just seen, there are those mud wallows, and they are big fans of elephants, and buffalo are big fans of them. So we don't want to stumble upon a large buffalo bull without spotting him first. So we're walking very carefully and slowly due west towards the setting sun. So, of course, I love the majority of the animals out here. And Miss Jin, who's in the Lone Star State, Texas, is wondering which is my favorite. And that is a question I can answer without even thinking. It's the African wild dog, or painted wolf. That is by far my most favorite animal in the world. It's just that they're just so exciting to follow. Miss Jin would also like to know which animal I like the least. I'm not sure. I like most of them. I think, actually, I know which animal I like the least. There is an incredibly annoying insect that lives in the rainforests of Central Africa. In French, it was called a faru. In English, well, I didn't know what its English name was. It's a mite, a biting midge, sorry. We used to call them invisibles. They were so small you couldn't see them, and they literally bit you everywhere, and they'd get in your clothes. That's probably my least favorite animal, Miss Jin. But as you can see, the sun's setting behind us. We need to start changing gears to a little bit quicker to get back to the vehicle before it's too dark. But thanks very much for joining us on the sunset walking safari. It's been possibly one of the greatest walking safaris of my life, with that incredible boomslang. But now we're going to go back to Hayden for some more microscope fun.
What an incredible sunset. Always we have incredible sunset here. We're spoilt. That was an amazing walk from Brent today. I'm just blown away with what he saw. He's got a real eye. He can see the finest detail. It's absolutely fantastic. I forgot to do something with you. I'm struggling a little bit to identify this woodlouse that I had here before. If you want to just have a quick look at him, I'll just cross to him on the microscope. I'm just putting that light on for a second. Now, the way that you can identify him, if you can help me, see those two little brown sort of characteristic scales at the end there? He's going to move because of this light. That's a real characteristic of this species, and I'm just struggling to find out which one he is. Now, if you would like to help me, that would be really great. If you would like to help me by trying to identify him, and the first person that tweets in at #SafariLive will get a shout out, and I'd love to do that for you, and it'd be great for me as well, because you can help me identify this. The interesting news that I forgot to tell you about wood lice is there's about 3,500 species on the planet. Let's just cross off to the drone for a second. Have a look what Andrew's found for you. Really, really great. Just as that sun's setting there, he's got two zebra just up on quarantine, looking beautiful with that gorgeous colour in the sky. And we often find that zebra come up here in the afternoon. Many animals come up onto quarantine for the reason of safety at night. It's a nice open area. We'll get herds of buffalo resting here overnight. We'll get herds of impala, kudu. Kudu sort of go back into the vegetation a little bit, but the zebra, wildebeest, buffalo and impala have a tendency to congregate up here through the evening because it's a nice, safe, open area. That being said, there's been many a successful predator up here as well, though, so they do have to keep their wits about them. But for now, I think we'll cross back to Jamie and see what she's up to, and great stuff.
We're still searching for them. Copy that, sorry, Orts, thank you. Just getting an update from Aubrey about the Birminghams around First Rock on Porchwood. And apparently, according to Biam, we've gone past where the lions were earlier. It doesn't look like they're still here. I don't see any sign of them. Interestingly, we had a really fleeting glimpse of a hyena just as we were moving through this area, and I think they've been feeling particularly defensive about their den. For those of you who were watching this morning, you may have seen that the lions were pretty much on top of the hyena den this morning. They came to pay a visit. I'm just going to do a bit of a loop around, see if they haven't moved further into the bush, possibly in search of some better shade as the day got hot. It is a very, very dense block. Unbelievably dense. Just do one quick double check around this termite mound. And then we'll start looping back towards the road, because I can't go all the way through in this block all the way through to the road, not without having a reason. Out here. Keep your eyes peeled, guys. See if you can spot them before I do. Remember, you're looking for black flicks of the tail and the black at the back of the ears. Bumpy. Now, Sarah, you've raised a point that honestly I thought about as well, and Sarah's one of our 17-year-old viewers from Ohio. She's a very regular follower of our show. Sarah, you wanted to know if the hyenas might move den sites now that the lions have been around. Honestly, Sarah, I'm not 100% sure. The one thing that I did notice was that the lions were urine spraying around the den, which lion urine does carry a very potent, very strong smell, and it's not something that animals really enjoy. You might find that the hyenas decide that they really don't want that scent, because it's a bit of a trouble magnet, really, because other male lions might come through and smell that and might attract their attention as well. So there's a possibility that they could move. Have you got him? The direction. Liam is directing me through the block to try and help me find out exactly where their last location was, because he very cleverly GPS'd it. Very bumpy, rather rocky ride. Sarah, I think there's a chance that they might move their den site. I can't be 100% sure. I just think that the scent of the lion urine might act as a serious deterrent. I haven't seen any heads sticking up, and I wonder whether they might have moved out of here. While I continue my search, James has some birds to show you, so let's head across to him.
Right, everyone, couple of communication issues, but here we are at Arathusa, and we're just watching the crepuscular rays of the sun as the guinea fowl shouts off to the right-hand side of your screen. So, wonderful sights as the summer clouds start to build, and in 3 days' time we're supposed to be having some rain out here, which would be very exciting. And this is generally what happens. It normally takes about 2 days for these storms to really build up properly. The heat gets almost unbearable to about 40 degrees or 102 degrees Fahrenheit, and then it breaks with a big storm in the afternoon. And that storm in the afternoon is predicted for Friday. So with any luck, we'll have it then, and we'll have something for those of you in the States for us to be very grateful for. Now, what we did when we arrived here was we saw a hippopotamus coming out of the water, which is quite unusual at this time of the day. It's not quite dark enough, and he was marking territory. And the smell around here at the moment is, how would you describe it, Brian? Fairly ripe. He's been pungent. Yes, he's been pungent. And what they do is they walk along, and we'll show you now where he did it. They defecate and flap their tails over what they're doing, and they go, sprays the dung all over the place, and that's how he marks his territory. So we'll head down over there and see if we can't find some evidence of where it happened. The hippo itself is headed off there into those bushes. We'll try and catch up with him a little bit later, but certainly we want to try and show you where he went to the loo. There we go. I don't think there's anything fresh there, but that's certainly where he's been many times before. You can see that kind of a sprayed dung all over the place there. Very interesting. And that will be a sort of territorial mark that he's made, and not the one that he's just made. We did see him make quite a fresh one around here somewhere. I think it was just up ahead. Okay, right? This one or the next one? This one. Ah, yes. Look at that. Right. Let me show you how he did that. Not very nice. So what he did was he came and he stood here and he flapped his tail like that. It's like a paddle. It's a sort of a wide paddle. Sprayed the dung all over the place. He also had he also urinated here, so it was a kind of a double whammy. So it's very wet, very stinky, very effective way to mark your territory if you happen to be in a hippo bull. And what they do is they're territorial in the water, and then their territories kind of radiate out from the water like that. And the further away from the water they get, the less territorial they'll be about it. So he's probably heading off sort of into the middle of his territory to graze for the night. And I don't know that he'll be back. I don't think he'll be back before dawn. And I think the reason they're probably coming out early is because that water's pretty unpleasant. There's a whole lot of water hyacinth in it. And as Jamie was showing you earlier, I mean, it's so thick that the water monitors are running all the way across the top of it, not sinking at all. And as Brian said, some swamp things under there. That's exactly what it does look like. All right, we'll carry on. We'll see if we can't spot this hippo just in the bushes behind us. I don't need to plug myself in. I can't hear anything from the final control, so we're flying blind, as it were. We're also going to head a bit further east so that we do get some better comms with the final control. Stunning moon starting to come up now. There you can see it. It's almost full. I think probably a day off, Brian. Probably a day off being full. Beautiful. Marvelous. Okay, we'll carry on. See if we can't. The hippo went off through there. I'm not going to try and sort of follow him like I might an elephant, and that's because they do get a bit nervous when we're following them. They probably will just run off. They're known as the most dangerous animals in all of Africa, which, I mean, I suppose they are if you happen to get between them and the water. But from cars, they are normally very nervous. If they're not in the water, they'll normally just run away. No, I don't think he's in there. The other thing we saw as we came into Arathusa, I don't think he's in there. The other thing we saw as we came into Arathusa was a whole lot of vulture activity around about their airstrip area. So we're going to head back in that general direction, see if we can't pick anything up. I did ask the Arathusa guys if they'd found anything there, and they hadn't by the time we asked them. So watch your heads, everyone. Right. It's always quite nice to look around here. This is a favourite haunt of shadow. There's the hippo. Straight up the power lines there. I'll just stop. We'll just have a quick look. I'm not going to follow him through there. It's a particularly unpicturesque part of the world. There, you can just see his shiny bottom disappearing off. This is still very light for him to be out. Normally only after dark. Righty, let's reverse. What an absolutely astonishing sighting you had with Brent in that wormslang. I was just getting something in the final control. We were trying to fix the radios there when I saw it. And I mean, I was really gobsmacked. I think, as Brent said, his best snake sighting here. Certainly would have been my best if I'd been there too. Right, so our plan now is to head off back sort of towards the eastern side, and we'll have a look where those vultures were lurking around, just about sort of on the Arathusa airstrip entrance, round about their airstrip area. Three of them were killed. They're the last remaining three of the Ximhungwe pride. That young male is really going to struggle to survive in the area on his own. Certainly if the Birmingham boys start to get hold of him, well, that'll be the end of that. But, now I don't know if Brent explained this to you. Found on Biffle's Hook today were three of the sky bed males. Now, I don't know if you remember us describing them to you, but the sky bed males are 9, a coalition of 9 male lions. And they seem to be coming south now, out of Manyeleti. The other Matimbas, remember the Matimba boys who used to be dominant here were 5, and then the 2 of them sort of set up shop around here. But the 3 of them who stayed north in Manyeleti have scarpered, they've gone off somewhere, and those 9 males have split into 4 and 5 at the moment. And 5 of them are coming down this way. 3 of them pitched up at Biffle's Hook last night, and they're mating with some unknown female. Excuse me. So that is really quite astonishing. Oh, I think I'm hearing something in final control. Here we go. I can read her. Go ahead. No, I was over hopeful. Final control, do you copy? Oh well, we'll carry on driving. Right, let's go across to Jamie, see what she's got. This is a little bit out of the farcical, and we'll see you a bit later.
Well, we did it. It's taken some serious budu bashing and quite a few collisions with trees for both of us, but thanks to Vian's very fine directing skills, we have found the Ximhungwes. Brilliant. My first time seeing these lions in the flesh. Hello, little ones. 2 subadult females and 1 subadult male. All 3 of them with a very complicated, very rather sad history from what I understand. Now, these 3 have been absolutely consummate survivors. For them to have survived as subadults on their own for as long as they have. Hello, little boy. Now, this little guy apparently escaped death only a couple of nights ago, which is why he's looking so thin and stressed out. He was outside one of the neighboring lodges. I haven't been able to confirm which one. And he was cornered by a whole load of hyenas. And the 2 lionesses couldn't get to him. He was separated from them. And most of the guides who were watching were convinced that he was going to die. He was going to be killed by the hyenas, but he managed to break free and escape. And that is why that little boy is looking a bit thin and a bit the worse for wear. But definitely a trio of 3 young heroes. The Ximhungwe pride, from what I understand, I'm going to try and get us a little bit closer, but I don't want to make them uncomfortable. So we'll do it nice and slowly. And Unfortunately, we are on the noisiest log in the world. Here we go, let's sneak forward. We've arrived at just the right time. They are getting up. And there's one scent marking there. And Gail, you were watching in Rhode Island. You were wondering if they would use scent marking to locate the rest of their pride. Gail, it's a possibility. Oh, little ones. Very tightly bonded family group. Oh, shame. He is looking... Oh.
Of a twist.
He definitely, VM and I have decided, actually it was VM's idea, we're going to call this little male Oliver Twist. I don't think he approves of our name, VM. I think he disapproves. Okay, well, either way, I think he should be called Oliver. Sorry, boy, did that not go down so well? Or have you got a runny tummy? They are orphans by the looks of things. There was an adult female with them a couple of months ago, but she hasn't been seen in a really, really long time. Oh, shame. Look at all of those scars. That would be from the hyena encounter. Oh, well done, little boy. You've done very well to have survived as you have. And for the most part, I think that these three have been without their adult mother. They've been getting by pretty much on scavenging, maybe getting lucky and catching things like kudu or nyala. There's some updates coming through that the last 3 adults of the Ximhungwe pride were killed by hyena, as well as another being killed by the Ottawa pride of lions. Now, the Ximhungwe pride apparently used to be also known as the Castleton pride, and it was a very, very large pride. And it slowly suffered some setbacks, incredible setbacks. That being said, I did see a photograph posted of one of the adult Ximhungwes with these 3. So there were 4 of them all together. That was a couple of months ago. So I don't know where that surviving lioness, maybe they were out on their own. Oh dear, into thick block. Where are you going, guys? You're going to try and stay with them for as long as possible. We're about to hit a drainage line. It's going to be very, very tricky to stay with them. I'm so glad that we got here when we did. Managed to get at least some visual of them. See up ahead of me how thick the bush is. I'm going to try and find a way around to them, otherwise we might have to do a big loop. Looks like it's the only place we're going to be able to cross. Everybody hold on to your heads. Everyone, I'm just concentrating on not wrecking the car or driving over any trees I shouldn't, and also catching up with those lions. And we're going to do an Austin Powers style 20-point turn to get there. really interesting question from one of our younger viewers. You ready, dear? Oh, there's a tree. Now Matthew, who is 9 years old, Matthew, you've watched a show where it said that lions will kill hyenas. I think I might have to admit defeat here. Just to give you a rough idea as to what we are facing. I'm desperately trying to look for a way around. The lions just came in through here where we are, opposite where we are now. Matthew, I promise you I will get back to your question. I just want to spend a little bit of time trying to get through here to try and find these lions for you all to look at. And while I do, let's head across to James. I'll be back with you very shortly.
Right, everybody, hello. You will hear the odd sort of speaking from Final Control on the radio. We're still having a couple of troubles, so they are on open communications. Jamie has refound the Ximhungwes, as you know. They've now gone to some thick bush, but nervous lions, I'm sure. So just to reiterate, we had some Birmingham boys on Torchwood in the Far East today, a couple of skybed males, or a few of them on the northern side of Biffle's Hook today. The Matimbas still seem to be round about Londolozi. I'm not sure where the Salati males are. They're the ones who are going to cop it next from those skybed males if they hang around in northern Biffle's Hook and Manileti. So really interesting times. Not a lot of lady lions to go around, all these males at the moment. And I think it looks to me like those Birmingham boys are starting to fracture. One of them seems to be quite badly injured. He's sitting on Torchwood at the moment. I don't know what's wrong with him exactly or what fate has befallen him, but he certainly doesn't seem to be in a very good way. According to reports, I haven't seen him yet. And you know, they haven't all five been seen together for a little while yet. I may be speaking out of turn and I may be speaking too soon, but I think it does sound a little bit like they're starting to fracture. Bring in the extra of another 5 or 9 even skybed males from the north, and who knows what's going to happen. So we don't have a huge amount of time left to drive. With any luck, we'll find something on faithful Djuma. We've left Arathusa. There was a bit of vulture activity, but the light faded, and so we weren't able to go and follow up on foot. So we're going to head back into Djuma and see what there is there. Take the spotlight out shortly. It's amazing how every day it just gets dark slightly later, probably about 25 to 30 seconds only, but you can start to feel it. We can still see the pink on the horizon when we shut down at 7 o'clock. And a week or 2 weeks ago that certainly wasn't the case. It was pitch black when we shut down. So, oh, there we go, little Steenbok running across the road. I did see my first baby impala today, which was excellent. It ran into some thick bush before we could show it to you, I'm afraid. But at least Brian and I saw one. Our first of the season. Was that your first of the season? Oh, your second. Well, look at you. Aren't you so fancy and smart? Anyway, lucky old Brian. He's seen 2. I've seen 1. Try and find a few more before it gets completely dark. But they're definitely starting to drop now. Excuse me. All the rain's brought out the frogs, Brian. Frog in my throat. Right, we're going to go across to Hayden. He's in the tent on course on quarantine clearings. Let's see what he's got to show you, and I'll see you just now.
Well, we have had some answers to our woodlouse questionnaire, and the winner is Jeff from Texas. And Jeff, thank you very, very much. The correct genus, I'm still yet to find the species. If you want to just come and have a little look at this little guy here, as I said, and Brent always says the small thing. And this little guy is a woodlouse that is in the Armadillium genus, and he's a pretty cool creature. He's He's a very, very ancient creature and great little one. So, Jeff, thank you so much from Texas. Hope you're doing well. Wonderful state you live in too. Well, there's something else right in front of me here, isn't there? One of my favourite creatures on the planet, and I've worked with giraffe for many years. I hand-reared a giraffe in a zoo that I worked at. I spent a lot of time with that animal. I learnt loads about them, but it's not very often you get your hands on a skull. And I know James picked this up the other day and had a look at it, and there's always interesting things to talk about. I just want to talk to you a little bit more about the actual time that I hand-reared my giraffe, and I really did feel it in the flesh, literally. Those horns, they're not actually horns, they're called ossicones. And they are big calcium or big parts of the bone there that actually end up standing up between 2 and 3 weeks of age, and they don't fuse to their skull or connect to their skull till they're between 4 and 7 years of age. So between 2 and 3 weeks of age they stand up, but when I felt the giraffe's sort of ossicone the first time, skin covered ossicones they are as well, like their distant relative or their cousin the okapi in Central Africa, you could hold on to that ossicone and it actually move on the skull, and you could feel it. You could actually hold it there and move it around on the skull, even though it was covered in hair and skin, and that little giraffe's horn was like that, and he used to really enjoy that. It was like scratching his head sometimes. I hand-reared that giraffe for 1 year, and I think I mentioned the other day on camera, but he was at his prime. He was drinking 25 litres, which is about, 25 times 600 mils. I'll have to do the math for you later and get that in pints for you. But an incredible amount of milk every day, and he grew up to be a fine animal. But incredible thing. Now, if you just get a close look on this, please, Tebs, there's a line here, very faint line. You can just see what I'm using my tool to draw around here, and you can see there's a line there. That's where the fusion mark is, where that calcification occurred, and just along here as well. Okay, and that's eventually where the giraffe's ossicones fuse to the skull. Now, in the females, they're not used as much as they are in the males. They're used for fighting. They'll drop their head and neck in a pendulum type of a fashion, hit their heads and necks together. Quite hard to watch sometimes, and that will do that for dominancy over rights to mate with the herd, or individuals, sorry. Now, the other thing is there's other calcium buildups. There's one that happens sort of in the mizzen or the middle of the forehead there as well. And there's two behind here. I'll just see if I can slide this around a little bit more. Another calcium buildup right on the last vertebrae just there. Right there. Those ones protect the back and the head of the neck when that pendulum necking motion happens when they hit their heads and necks together. So pretty cool creatures, and always great to see the really fine detail of an animal when you get your hands on a skull. Okay, we're going to cross back to Jamie and see what she's up to. James we're going to cross back to. James and Jamie. It gets a bit confusing for an old bloke like me in the afternoon. We're crossing to James and see what he can find.
Now you're alive. Hello everybody, we're back again, and I'm sure you heard the dulcet tones of Taradales at the end of that telling us that we're alive. Wonderful, that tent. I had such fun.
Thank you so much,
the last few days. It was just so special to be able to, first of all, it's a learning experience, because you need to find things that are interesting and to find out about them. And so we found a couple of beetles and we could identify them, but then of course once you said this is a tortoise beetle, what else do you say about it once you've looked at it under the microphone, at least microscope? And so it was a tremendous learning experience. Steph and I would find things, and Louise would find something, and then we'd quickly go and look things up. We'd find out bits and pieces about them and discover all sorts of new things about the wilderness in which we live. And it's not an enormous property on which we live, but despite that, there is so much of it that is still totally undiscovered and unexplored, especially in terms of the little things that occur here, around summertime especially. Summer is a particularly good time for those little things. Beetles and bugs, dragonflies, flies. We had a bloodworm, which is an interesting thing. I've never seen a bloodworm before. There's a little impala. We're not going to shine the light on it. It's either a little impala. No. Brian, what's going on there? Is that just an adult impala having his evening constitutionals?
I think so.
It's not a birth going on, is it? Hang on 1 second, everybody. What can you see, Brian? or something's going on.
It's a male.
It's a male. So you don't think it's giving birth then?
Probably not.
Do you think it's unlikely?
Highly unlikely.
I suppose it probably is. It's a male. A constipated male, but a male nevertheless. Males don't give birth, so we're going to carry on from that. I'm sure it's been explained to you, but we're into the lambing season, of course, and it's just really exciting to see the young ones, and I've never seen one being born before. So every time I see an impala, I stop and look at it, and especially if it's assuming a slightly odd pose, like that one's school. Are you sure that was a male, Brian? Yeah. Right. He's definitely very constipated. Hopefully he will be okay. He needs to go and eat some tambuti leaves, and that will help loosen up his constitution a bit. Oh, spotlight. We need our spotlight. There we go. Brian is also operating a spotlight, of course. Double the light power. Seem to be bearing any great results regarding animals there at this stage. Right, have you spotted an animal yet with that spotlight? Right, we are coming onto a road called Weaver's Nest, which will eventually become Philemon's Dip, and that'll head up towards Quarantine, but we're going to turn off it onto a road called Ximhungwe Alley. Now, Ximhungwe is the Zulu and Shangaan word for leopard. I've seen one leopard on Ximhungwe Alley. We might be lucky today. It's so nice that the heat of the day has kind of dropped off. It wasn't an enormously hot day, but it was certainly pretty steamy. And it's steamier as the summer goes on and the amount of water in the topsoil increases. So as it evaporates, so it makes the air very close and very steamy. You can hear the cicadas now. Very nice. Lots of insects around, as I said. Some rain locusts calling now, the cicadas. We'll just stop here and have a listen. Rain locust, of course, is shut up. Have a little listen. I'll tell you what I can hear. So you can hear that buzz of the cicadas. A little membrane underneath the abdomen that is vibrating at an astonishing 60,000 times per minute. Just try and compute that, 60,000 times per minute. 60 seconds in a minute, that's almost 1,000 times a second. It sounds incredibly fast for me, and I certainly did hear that today. In fact, thinking about it, it does sound incredibly fast. I think I'm going to have to check it up. Right, as you heard now, we're going to link across to Jamie, see what she's got. I'll carry on down Ximhungwe Alley, and with any luck, have an Ximhungwe at the end of it. See you now.
And I promise you, it took me that long to find my way out of that block. If we escape without a flat tire, it will be an absolute miracle. Well done, Jigga. Good job. Now I'm looping around to try and get to Buffelshoek cut line. See if we can catch the Ximhungwe on that side. I think they're heading north. They look like they're heading straight north back towards Buffelshoek. I wonder if they don't think that might be a safer place for them. Now I was in the middle of answering Michael's question about he's heard that lions will kill hyenas but not eat them, and he was wondering why. And the reason, Michael, is because they kill the hyenas more for competition, so to reduce competition, than they do for any other reason. So they're not killing them for food, they're killing them so that they have less hyenas to compete with in terms of getting food, and less hyenas that might one day steal food from them or their cubs. So it's a way of trying to increase their success rate by killing hyenas. Sometimes they nibble on them a little bit, but generally predators don't often feed on other predators. It's only really hyena that generally demonstrate that. So only really hyena that will eat other hyena, or lions or leopards. I'm busy looking for the eye shine of those three young Ximhungwes. I would love to know where they go from day to day and how they've stayed out of trouble the way that they have. It's absolutely phenomenal. For our lions, and Adrian, you were wondering if there is more than one type of lion in Africa, and the answer is no. They all fall into the same species for the most part, at least sub-Saharan Africa. That being said, I'm going to take the cut line. That being said, there are sort of differences in different areas. So some of the lions, for example, the ones around the Kalahari, they have very deep, dark manes with high levels of testosterone. Some of the Eastern African lions are a little bit lighter in coloring, but they're still the same species. They don't form into a separate subspecies or anything like that. This is roughly where the Ximhungwes should emerge. Keeping my eyes out here. One different type of lion, if you want to call it type, that we get out here is a white lion. Now that's not a different species at all. It is part of the same species. It's just a color, it's a genetic color variation. It's quite an unusual one. It's very, very rare. It's like albinism, but not quite. It is more, they have a little bit more pigment, so they don't lack pigment completely. They don't have red eyes. They have blue eyes and slightly darker manes and tail tips. It's a type of color variation known as leucism. And it's a very, very rare thing to see. Now we are currently operating in an area where potentially we could see them. They're more common around the Timbavati region, but the Timbavati region is open to us. I'm actually going to take that road, I think, and do a loop around. So the lions could one day walk from Timbavati, especially young males dispersing away from their pride homelands, or their home range. They might move across towards areas like this, and if they find a female who also carries that recessive gene, then they could produce white lion offspring. I know that in Singita Lumbombo, which is in the far, far eastern side of Kruger, right on the Mozambican border, they all of a sudden, white lion cubs have just emerged into a pride that doesn't have any white lion individuals. It's quite phenomenal. But since it is a naturally occurring gene, I guess it must pop out every now and again. It's just a matter of numbers. Now, the reason we think, or we suspect, that the Ximhungwes have come through is actually the answer to Susan's question. Now, Susan, you were saying, does rain wash away scent markings? And the answer is yes, it definitely makes them seem fainter and older. And what you'll see, both male lions and then leopards as well, after a big rainstorm, what you'll very often see them doing is going out and spraying urine and remarking their territories, remarking their areas. And it could be that because of the big rains that we've had over the last, I think the biggest one might have been, actually I honestly can't remember what day it was. I'm not entirely sure what today is. I think it might have been Sunday or Saturday morning. And we haven't seen any of the other big male coalitions like the Birminghams come through since. So they haven't come and marked their territory again. Yes, in answer to that question, it does start to wash it away. Well, guys, at least we did manage to get that very brief visual of a very special lion pride, and one that I will always be keeping an eye out for in the future. I'm going to continue my search, but I am actually going to say goodbye to you all. And a big thank you to VM as well for helping me navigate through that block, as well as all of his fantastic camera work. You're going to spend your last few moments in the tent with Hayden, so I will say goodbye for now and have a wonderful day.
Well, what a fantastic day, folks. A walk that was out of this world. I've never seen a reptile sighting like that ever before, and I think Jean-Dre and Brent pulled that off amazingly. The camera work and just how Brent was taking us through that was really spectacular. I enjoyed watching that immensely, and I have to agree with Brent. He says that's the best sighting he's ever seen in his 30 years in the African bush. I've never seen anything like that with a boomslang that was that relaxed and just let us be there with it. That's the beauty of Safari Live. It is happening live. Nothing like that is scripted. It's the incredible thing about having these fantastic people out on drives, on walks, drones in the sky, and all this fantastic little stuff in the tent as well. But it's been an absolute pleasure to be with you this afternoon. I really look forward to coming back and talking to you again tomorrow from the tent. We're going to find some other fantastic small things, remembering the small things always matter as well. And if you can get your kids outdoors to have a bit of a look around, get them connected to nature through Safari Live, our job's done. See you tomorrow.
Link finish, you are safe, you're alive.
Hello everybody, we've come to Biffleshoek, not Biffleshoek Dam, to Djuma Dam to look at the moonrise here. I'm lying in this repose, of course, because it's been a bit of a tough day radio-wise, and so Brian and I are feeling a bit frazzled by life. Very relaxing to be here with the moon. We'll have a quick look at the moon behind me, and while we do that, we're going to just spend 20 seconds listening to the incredible sounds. I know I've done this already once with you, but let's just have one more listen. The cuckoo is what I want you to hear, and the kingfisher. You can just hear the red-chested cuckoo or the pitmay frobird going. And he's calling in the drainage line to the south of this dam. His voice echoing down through the leaves of the new trees. And totally on cue, of course, the woodland kingfisher has ceased his calling. He was yelling as we came up here to stop. Crickets, cicadas, rain locusts, and the odd owl. There's a Scops owl going. Bloop, bloop. There's also way in the distance an African cuckoo going. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Right. That's it for this evening, everybody. It has been a little bit of a trial. We do thank you so much for your patience with it. I know it can be a little frustrating, especially to our faithful viewers who've... Isn't that lovely? The water thickney, some Franklins. And we will be going into more rehearsals tomorrow, so we're probably dealing with our technical difficulties as we go along, so please bear with us. We do love having you on board. Especially tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock we'll start off. We'll have an hour of normal broadcast and then 2 more hours of our rehearsals, which unfortunately will be closed to the public. But we need to do that in order to up our game, fix out the glitches, so that we can do our TV broadcasts come Friday and magnificent Big Cat Week. We're so excited for it. And we're so excited that you, our faithful viewers, can join us. So please feel free to send through your questions tomorrow morning and your comments, and let us know what you think of the whole process, and let us know what you want to see during Big Cat Week. So a big thank you to Brian. Thank you, Brian, for your patience and stoicism today. Thank you to the technical team, who will no doubt be flat on their backs fairly soon. Hayden in the tent, that must have been great fun, I'm sure. Louise and Steph running around fetching bits and pieces. Tara and Nikki and Kirsty and who else was in there? Jerry, working frantically in the final control. And of course, Jamie, Brent, Scott, Viam, I think I've left out Jeandre, and Andrew on the drone. That's the whole team. And from us at Wild Earth, we will see you tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock. Until then, stay safe and happy wherever you are in the world. We'll see you.